Hello all, this is Piyush. So now the pre-results are out and many of you are planning to write the mains examination. And many of you are planning to write the mains examination with history optional. Now when it comes to history optional, there is a very important and challenging area, and that is basically the map area. Basically what happens in any optional that you, with what you have been appearing in the exam, you always try to score very high, because if you have been scoring very high in the optional, in that case you secure a better chance to be in the list, in the final list, and that's why everybody is targeting somewhere around 300 marks. So when it comes to history optional, that's quite possible to score around 300 or even beyond 300. But when it comes to going beyond 300, there is a very challenging area, that's the map area. But I must tell you one thing, that it is not true that since beginning it was a very challenging area. I still remember there used to be one period when many people had been selecting this optional paper because of this map question. Why? Because at that point of time what happened, if somebody is correcting good number of sites here, in that case people could expect of getting more than 40 or 45 also in this map area. So you can assume that if some if you have been scoring somewhere around 40 or 42, so how what a good score it is. So you just imagine कि it is roughly around 80-85% mark. So अगर आपको एक क्वेश्चन में आपको 80-85% मार्क्स मिल रहे हैं, बहुत आसानी से आप दूसरों से 15 या 20 नंबर का लीड ले सकते हैं. That is the utility or that is the beauty of this particular part. But then unfortunately what happened over the period, this map area or the map question was made more and more complicated. And since it became more and more complicated, and that's how students started facing challenges. And there are multiple challenges which are there in this particular map area. And in this particular video, we are going to just discuss about the solutions, what we are trying to provide you for the challenges what you have been facing. Before I come to the challenges, let me first tell you that what kind of questions are being asked in the exam. For understanding that, you have to understand this map. This map I have taken from the last year question only. So basically there is a political map of India which is provided to you, and in this political map there are 20 sites are given and the numberings are there along with the sites. And then further you can find that the description of these sites are given, such as this is a Neolithic site. So number one, this is a Neolithic site. Now what you are supposed to do, you have to identify the exact name of that particular site, and by identifying the exact name of this particular site, you can basically you have to write the name of this site in your answer copy. And then at the same time you need to write some of the quality description of this particular site, and on the basis of that you are getting 2.5 marks. The description must be written in 30 words. So for all the sites you will be writing individually for every site in the description in 30 words, and that's how you have been completing your answer. What happens here, if you have identified the question perfectly, and then if you have given the most relevant description of the site, in that case you can get complete marks, 2.5 marks, right? So for 20 sites, you are going to get 50 marks. So you just imagine if you are able to identify 16 to 17 sites perfectly, and you are able to write the correct description of these sites, in that case 40 does not remain a sort of bigger target. But then it is sounding very nice, but unfortunately it becomes very challenging. And what are the reasons because of what it becomes very challenging? So I would like to discuss couple of reasons because of what it becomes very challenging. So if I'll tell you about the challenges, in map question, so the first thing I'll say that the exact location of site. Now why it is a problem? Unfortunately, there is no such material, or there is no such book also which is dealing with this particular problem perfectly. What happens in majority of the places, either you take any standard book, when you see the marking of the sites, because in most of the books precisely which is dealing with the ancient India, because the questions are always being asked from the ancient India. If it is dealing like with the sites, or if it is giving the map to you where the sites are located, even those sites are not perfectly marked. And since those sites are not perfectly marked, so what happens when you try to cover this particular part, like somehow in your mind there is a wrong imagination for that particular site. Okay, this is located here, but exactly it is located somewhere else. So like this is the problem. The second problem, that when you have been consulting any notes, in the notes mostly it is marked manually. When it is being marked manually, then there is a, of course, like it is very challenging, because you just you can imagine ki if in the map it is marked manually, in that case exact location won't be possible ever, and that's the reason because of what it becomes a problematic area, right? So exact location in the material or in the book that you have been recommending, right? Now, what is the second important problem? The second important problem is basically related to the identification of the site. Identification of the site. Now here there are some other challenges. First, you have to identify the sites, as I told you. But when you are identifying the sites, so exact identification becomes a problem. And this identification becomes more problematic when you see the description, because when they started asking the map in this particular style, in that case what happens, they are not giving a very simple description. They're just playing with it, they are giving you very different kind of description of the site. Then you have to think, you have to have a sort of basic understanding of the site, that you can literally understand ki what is the utility of that site, and as per that the description has been given. So if you are clear about the exact description of the site, or exact beauty, or let's say exact feature of that particular site, in that case what happens, you'll be able to identify it. So since it is given in a very complicated manner, and that is how it is becoming more problematic. That is also one important challenge that you have been facing while dealing with this particular issue. Okay, then what happens, the third important problem is precisely related to basically writing the most relevant description. Now this is also a very important part. Why? Because if you are not writing the most relevant information in the description of site, in that case you can't expect 2.5 marks. So अगर आपको 2.5 मार्क्स पूरे लेने हैं, तो उस केस में आपको उसके मोस्ट रेलेवेंट डिस्क्रिप्शन. Why am I emphasizing again and again on this particular word? Since you have just 30 words, so you can't waste those 30 words in writing any sort of absurd thing. Rather, you need to write something which is very accurate about that site, and that's how description plays a greater role. And in fact, you should know that description is carrying more marks as rather than the identification, and that's how you cannot ignore by any chance the description of the site, and you have to have the exact and the relevant description of the site. That is another important challenge. And fourth challenge is basically the revision. How to revise the content map area in such a way, because it is never going to happen in one day. It is always going to consume more time, and if you are very regular with this particular question, or let's say the revision, in that case you can definitely expect of getting more than 40 marks, and that's the reason because of what the revision plays a very important role, right? So basically I'll say these are 4 important challenges what you face, and in fact through our program we have been trying to basically resolve the challenges in the best way, right? So we are giving our best efforts to resolve this particular problem. So how we have done it, that remains also a very important question. So let's talk about that, how come we have been trying to find the solution of this. So for that, I will provide you the solution in a very unique manner. Okay, now let's understand that what is this unique manner in which I have been trying to provide the solution. Now this is the digital notes that we have come up with for this map section, right? So basically this is the digital map. What does it mean? कि it is not just a digital copy or the digital form in which it is being provided. Basically, this is a Google map, right? So you can actually take it to any scale. You can reduce it, you can take it to any scale, right? So it is actually a Google map. So we have brought this Google map in the same way, the way the question is being asked or the map is being given to you in your examination, right? So if you will enlarge this particular on the same scale on your screen, so whatever you have been using, computer or laptop or whatsoever it is, you can actually enlarge it as per your own requirement. Got it? So you can actually bring it to the same scale in which the UPSC is asking the question. That is one thing, right? The same political boundaries are given here, and in fact this map has been taken from the Indian government only, or as I told you, the Google map and Indian government, right? So basically this is the exact map what we have been providing you, right? And now in this particular map the sites are being located, right? As you can see that these circles, right, these circles are basically the sites. Now we have located these sites through the through the Google map only. How have we done it? I would like to just show it to you. So let's say this is how we actually locate the site. Suppose we have to add one more site, right? So okay, fine. I have been going for the adding one more site. So here we are getting two names. There is one display name and one is the location name, right? So basically the display name, let's say let us find any particular site. So let's say if I have been going for one site that is called as Atirampaktam, let's say Atirampaktam, right? Now it is falling close to a place called as Chennai, correct? So let's say we have been putting here Chennai, because in map you cannot find all the time. It is not true always, but yes, all the time you cannot find the exact historical names. That's the problem, and that is why we have been finding it with the modern names. In that case, the accuracy can be maintained, right? So the moment I have been going for this, and the moment I go for this submit button, we can find this particular site close to it. Okay, it's coming now. Fine, I have to refresh it once. So these are Paleolithic sites. Okay, now this site is located here, and the moment you'll take the cursor over here, the description of the site will be here. Okay, so since I haven't give any description, how the descriptions are going to come, that also I'll show you. Let's say you have been going to okay, this is how look at the thing. Earlier the description is not there. So basically what happens, the moment you go to that take the cursor to this particular site, and then the descriptions are here. Now of course while giving the description we have kept in mind that basically we are giving the most relevant description, such as of course we will discuss it more in the class itself, right? But such as who was the excavator of the site, now what is the if there is any river nearby, and apart from that what is the exact modern day location. Then we can talk about the other important features of the discoveries in that particular site. If that particular site is having any important recognition, national and international, such as if it is falling in the UNESCO heritage list, in that case we are giving it. If there is any national recognition or state level recognition, that also we have been writing. So all the important descriptions you can find, and these are very precise. By precise, what I mean, since you have just 30 words, we are also providing the information more than within 30 to 50 words, that you can remember it and you can produce it in your answer script. So basically this is how we have been preparing this map. Now I must tell you that when you see the map, you will find a different sort of thing, right? So in your description, how is going to appear? The moment you'll go to that top part, so basically list of all the chapters will come here. So basically you'll find the Paleolithic sites, the Mesolithic, Neolithic, and so on. And in fact around 15 chapters would be there, and in those 15 chapters we have tried to cover maximum sites. So we have been covering roughly around 300 plus sites, And I am pretty sure that if you are doing these 300 sites, in that case definitely at least you'll be able to correct 16 or 17 sites. I'm just telling you in a very moderate way. It depends, but I am telling you in a moderate way that 16, 17 or even 18 sites can be done correctly, because I think that is the maximum limit. Sometimes we are committing mistake. So the moment, like this is the interface what you will be seeing, and after, like once you take the cursor here, and then as I told you that the description is there, right? So for any sites, like you'll find the description. So now this is something which is even helping you in revising the content also. Why? Because as I told you, the revision becomes very problematic. What happens normally, what you did, like you take a blank map and then you had been practicing. Now this is the map which is in front of you, right? And now by seeing this map, you have to just imagine कि अच्छा what is this particular site, and जब आपको याद आता है कि अच्छा ये वाला site है, the moment you take the cursor over here and then you'll find the description is here, and by seeing the description you can actually revise it. So it is like undoubtedly going to save your time also, right? And without wasting much of your time, you are going to basically like cover this particular portion in such an efficient manner which can literally push your marks to the upper side, right? So we have tried honestly to do something good for the students, those who have been preparing or planning to give the mains with history optional. So this is like how it goes to happen, right? Or it goes to like continue with you. So basically right now I'm just giving a sort of like basic understanding of it. So like we are going to start the class from the tomorrow onwards, and once like it is one by one, like we'll go chronologically, and then like as I told you that around 15 chapters would be there, and like once the chronology is done, after that we'll be going for some basically some miscellaneous sites also, because like as you know that sometimes they have been asking very awkward sites also, so that will cover under the miscellaneous category. And while having the class over these sites, like we'll just try to cover the alternative names also in which the sites can be asked, such as like any site is there, now what are the other possibilities in which like the site can be asked, that also we need to keep in mind, because that can help you to prepare well. And in fact we'll try to include even that also in our like description only, that can help you to like cover the sites properly. So I believe that this is definitely going to be quite helpful for you, and I believe that it is definitely going to increase your marks in the history optional in 2024 means on it itself, right? Thank you very much.